like that's a big thing for me right now is I want to be a compassionate person. I want to be understanding. I want to be loving, you know, and it's I'm finding myself having to detach myself from certain situations to really look at what's really going on in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
And it's kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things. um, Willie, you look like you got something to say.
No,
I don't know.
I'm listening.
You're listening.
I'm learning.
You're learning. Everything you got.
I've done a ton of work in the area of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell us what kind of work have you
So,
done?
as it goes with the life process, man, I have to figure out what the deal is with me and my shame,
Why are you feeling that way?
right? And
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Most of my self harm was due out of the old circle of shame, right? I do negative behavior, it causes me shame, cover it up with negative behavior, that negative loop. I get that negative loop. Well, for me, and I see this everywhere, man. Shame was given to me at birth. You know, Unfortunately, I was born into a religion that told me that I was born into sin and that I would never add up, and that it was by grace alone that I would only ever be accepted in this life or after. And with the most well and loving intention, I was put at odds against myself because as a kid, due to hyperactivity, high curiosity, basically being a child, I was labeled, right? And I was labeled with different, different names for my behavior. And I was, I didn't do bad things. I was bad things, right? I was, Willie, you're a bad kid. Willie, you're an angry kid. Willie, you're a mischievous kid. I mean, it wasn't. I can look back and I can be like, Willie, you're loved too. People told me that, but that's not what I hear, right? I hear the negative shit, and so I internalize those things, like you were saying. Uh, you know, Shame comes from who I am, not from what I do, right? And then what I do comes from who I am, right? So that negativity continues, and honestly, I'm grateful that you brought up the atheist thing because I don't I'm getting to where I don't like pounding my chest about it. I did for a while, kind of, because stepping away from my religion and going through my deconversion, it was so freeing to finally be able to look at myself as just a person. Right? I no longer had the stigma of the the Judeo-Christian religion that I was born into. The way that I understood it as hellfire and brimstone under certain conditions. When I was able to get away from that and look at it constructively, I was able to stop labeling myself as bad. Right? I had behaviors that didn't serve me well, and then now I'm able to work on those things because I'm not going to be saved through grace, right? It's not like there's this omnipresent power that's above me that's judging me whether I have an impure thought. What the fuck even is an impure thought? I mean, it's all kind of dependent on whoever's given it, right? Like there's a moral code, and so shame took me to a place that I've shared about before, where I stood in front of a mirror completely naked and I couldn't tell myself that I love you, right? Because of who I was, my opinion about myself. And it's the desire to have high opinions of others that allow us to let other people shame us, right? And so doing all that process, so much happened for me in my walkabout, going off, being alone, and making a decision about who I want to be and who I really am, right? It was something that I had to go through. Had to go through a spiritual awakening, right? Quote. Had to go through a psychic change.
Sounds really spiritual to me.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I don't know what else to call it.
Right.
Either a psychic change or a spiritual awakening.
Same thing.
Yeah. You know, and so what I did, and you guys know about this, and I think I've shared about it on another episode, is I went up in the woods. I sat down with a piece of paper and I wrote down every fucking label that I had for myself. Good, bad, and indifferent. Son, man, alcoholic, violent, friend, brother, Willy, William, boss, criminal. Every label that I could think of, I put it on a piece of paper, and it was extensive, man. There was I can't remember all the names that I had on there, but there was a fucking lot, because I took a whole day up in the woods all by myself. Like, what have I called myself? What have other people called me? And I put it all on a piece of paper and looked at it and said, I'm none of these things. And I fucking ceremoniously burned them all, you know. And I came off that mountain a blank slate, you know. No longer, like you said, am I chained to somebody else's opinion of me. I get to create who I am, right? And through my experiences, you know, the beautiful thing about being on this side of the table is I know what mistakes don't work, right? I don't have to go to a bar and try to take one shot of alcohol and see if I don't get in a fight this time, right? I know where that's going to lead me, right? But I have no idea what doing a $50,000 project is going to do, right? So that's something new that I get to try, you know, or put whatever number you want behind it, you know. I don't know what being a longtime business owner is going to look like, right? That's new mistakes that I get to make, and there's going to be some, but I don't have to associate that with being a negative person or being a bad person or being horrible at business, and that makes me a bad person or any of that shit, right? I get to make new mistakes because I know what I know what mistakes I've made don't work, right? And it all came from labeling my mistakes as who I am, creating shame.